hard money. Going to bring in our expert source on all of this. Of course, we're talking about Detective Red Dyer with the Cuyahoga County Sheriff's Department. Detective, how are you today?
Oh, I'm doing amazing, Dan. How about yourself?
I'm ready to get some dangerous individuals off our street. I'm ready to work with the Cuyahoga County Sheriff's Department, feature these fugitives, and we know it works. We've seen this in the past. A number of fugitives are no longer on our street because of this program, and it works so well. Detective, remind us why we do this. Why have you partnered up with Cleveland 19?
Well, Dan, Crime Stoppers of Cuyahoga County, we recognize the value of our community, the eyes and ears of our community. It also gives the community the chance to help clean up their neighborhoods and solve some of these cases. And it even earns people the chance to get a potential reward, which we'll get into shortly.
Absolutely, we will. Our first case is yet another first for Cuyahoga's Most Wanted. It's kind of interesting. We've been doing this year and a half, 2 years now. When we have firsts, we've seen all kinds of weapons. The first time we've seen a frying pan. The first time we've seen a lamp used as a weapon. The first time somebody was featured twice. Today we have somebody who is making their third appearance on Cuyahoga's Most Wanted. They were featured before, caught, back out there, and now they're being featured, refeatured here because authorities want to get this individual into custody. She has a lengthy criminal past. This is somebody we do not want on our streets. Let's get into the case of Briana Guzman. What do we know?
Well, Dan, what we know is that Miss Guzman is actually wanted for failing to appear for trial on multiple charges for an incident that took place in August of 2022. She actually jumped into the victim's car and took off with it. She lost control of the vehicle a short time later and crashed. We're talking about a very dangerous situation here, Dan. The victim actually then caught up to her and attempted to regain control of the car, but Briana began dragging the victim for over 1,000 feet, Dan, until he ultimately fell to the ground. She has an extensive criminal history with prior arrests and charges for things such as felonies assault, trafficking in drugs, extortion, phone harassment, and aggravated robbery. So definitely not somebody that we want on our streets, Dan. She also has warrants with Brooklyn for drug abuse, Independence for grand theft of a motor vehicle, and Strongsville for obstruction. She has multiple facial and neck tattoos, as can be seen in the booking photograph. She's 5'5" and 180 pounds and was last known to be staying in the 11,200 block of Fortune Avenue in the city of Cleveland. So if someone out there has some information, they may earn themselves a potential reward.
Yeah, and as I said in the beginning, we know this works because Briana is an individual that has been brought in because she's been featured on here. Let's get to our next case. Anthony Brooks, what do we know?
Well, Dan, according to reports in November of 2022, the SEAL SWAT detectives, that's the Southeast Area Law Enforcement detectives, and Cleveland police executed a search warrant at a home in the 3900 block of East 154th Street, where Mr. Brooks was present and secured. A search of the home revealed over 131 grams of methamphetamine, 67 grams of cocaine, and 102 grams of heroin and fentanyl, a loaded handgun, a scale, packaging material, cell phones, and $5,800 in cash. Mr. Brooks is considered a major drug offender with the Sheriff's Department. He has an extensive criminal history dating back to 1997. In fact, one incident I wanted to touch on was a trafficking in drugs case in 2015 that he pled guilty to. Reports in that case state that between 2014 and 2015, detectives actually made 4 controlled buys of crack and 2 controlled buys of heroin for Mr. Brooks. When he was ultimately arrested, he was found to be in possession also of a large amount of crack cocaine, Dan. We're talking about dangerous drugs. He's approximately 5'11" and 169 pounds and was last known to be staying in the 4600 block of East 173rd Street in the city of Cleveland.
We know the damage that can be done to our community when you have a drug trafficker, not only the individuals that he or she may be selling to that's hurting and impacting their lives, but the element that that brings to a neighborhood, wherever drug dealers are operating. Just think about what that does to your neighborhood. Nobody wants that. So if you know where that individual is, he's hiding out in somebody's house. Maybe this individual may be continuing to deal in drugs. Why would you not make a simple anonymous phone call to make your neighborhood a little bit safer? Let's get to our third and final case when we talk about Niles Cely.
Well, Dan, Mr. Cely actually has 2 warrants with the sheriff's department. In one case, he is alleged to have been in possession of a firearm that he's prohibited from having due to his criminal history, as we often see on Crime Stoppers. In 2020, he pled guilty to aggravated assault and domestic violence. The indictments state that he used that firearm to assault the victim. In his second case, our sex offender registration unit detectives, some very talented individuals over there, good investigators, opened up an investigation because he's required to register as a sex offender and he has not been compliant with his registration. In 2014 in Lake County, he was convicted of unlawful sexual conduct with a minor. And I know how our community feels passionate about the children in our community and keeping them safe. According to the sex offender registry, the victim in that case was under 16 years of age. He can be identified by his tattoos. He actually has a neck tattoo that reads Tamika, as well as a tattoo on his right forearm of a cross, and a tattoo across his chest that reads Only God Cares. Mr. Cely is 5'9" and 145 pounds, and we do not have a last known location for him, which makes it all that more important that we get information to get him off of our streets.
His tattoo of Only God Cares. Well, yes, God does care, but guess what? So does the Cuyahoga County Sheriff's Department. They care about your whereabouts and they want to bring you in. They just like to talk to you just a little bit. Red, when we start talking about why this program works, first of all, it's because people can stay anonymous. That's why Crime Stoppers has such a great track record. When people call, they're afraid. They don't want to leave their name. Why is that not an issue here?
Well, Dan, that's not an issue because we don't record phone calls. We don't take down your name. We don't have caller ID. All contact that we have through you is referenced through an anonymous tip number. We take your privacy and your protecting your identity very seriously.
You get that reference number by calling in 216-252-7463. You get that reference number, call back 45 days later, see if your tip helped out that Cuyahoga County Sheriff's Department warrant unit get out there and make an arrest. And it can be something as simple as, hey, I know where that guy buys gas. I know where that guy goes to eat every day or goes to a bar. It's that simple. You leave that one reference and that can be all that warrant unit needs to check it out and take a look. Red, when we start talking about that $5,000 reward, what do you like people to know?
I like them to know that crime doesn't pay, but Crime Stoppers does.
You don't want to mess with Detective Red Dyer and the Cuyahoga County Sheriff's Department or Crime Stoppers of Cuyahoga County. Red, thanks for joining us today. We'll see you next week.
It's been a pleasure, Dan.
All right, take care. Just going to wrap this up again, show you the phone number, 216-252-7463. We know the power of social media. If you're watching this on Facebook right now, you hit that share button. Maybe you don't recognize one of these 3 individuals, but maybe somebody in your feed will. We have some big announcements coming up for Cleveland 19. Make sure you tune in to our noon news. It's a big day here for Channel 19 with a major announcement coming up at noon. I'll be anchoring our news there, and so we'll see you on Channel 19. Until then, I'm Dan DeRose with 19 News. Make sure you have a great day.
19 News is everywhere. Download our CTV apps and follow us on social media at Cleveland 19 News.
All righty, Detective Patricia, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
And
Take care.
All right, take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.